Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
Talking a little green and gold to the Packers. We'll have a scrimmage, joint practice, not scrimmage, a joint practice with the Seahawks today. Final one, and then the final preseason game coming up on Saturday. This is going to be the last impression for a lot of these guys that are going to try to make the roster and such, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes to the players that we know are going to be on this roster and perhaps even starters or have big roles on this team, we know there are quite a few guys that we're looking for bounce-back years, breakout years, however you want to describe them. We've talked about them all offseason, right? All preseason and training camp. And the list is still the same. It's the Lucas Van Nesses, it's the Devontae Wyatts, the Quay Walkers. You could throw in a little Rashawn Gary and such. Maybe a Musgrave on there too. But if you were to, and I'm calling this Packers poker, or we could call it like Packer gambling, I don't know, Packers poker. You had to put your chips in the middle. You had to bet the house. You had to like put them all in the middle. And you had to gamble on this one player. The one player that you think is going to have a breakout year or is going to surprise a lot of people or have that really good year that we have been begging for a couple years or for a few years. Who is that player that you're willing to bet on? And this comes from, because I was reading, and it's a really good piece if you want to check it out, from our good friend Rob Demoski from ESPN, who covers the Packers. And it was a piece he wrote yesterday saying pressures on Packers Walker, Wyatt, Van Ness, Morgan. And I love how he opens up the piece by saying, so this is what a first-round pick is supposed to look like. Forgive Packers followers for not quite knowing that Matthew Golden, the number 23 pick in this year's draft, could walk right in and make play after play after play. And why would they? First-rounders Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt didn't do that in 2022. Lucas Van Ness didn't do that in 2023. And Jordan Morgan barely even played last season. So while Golden has been one of the standouts of training camp, the Packers are still hoping their previous four first-round picks can fall into the better late than never category when it comes to finally seeing major contributions from some of General Manager Brian Gutekunst's recent underachieving picks. I think Rob hit it on the head. I think he hit it on the head for what a lot of Packers fans have been saying about their first-round picks over the years. I don't think he said anything too out there, right? So if we added those guys, those former first-round picks, but maybe we throw in a Rashawn Gary, we could throw in a Luke Musgrave, we could throw in maybe some other guys. Stay away from the Loves, stay away from the Josh Jacobs, stay away from the Xavier McKinneys, those type of players. Stay away from the Zach Toms. But the guy for the last few months, that we have been like, we really need something from him. Put up or shut up time. Prove it here. Who are you willing to gamble on? And there's a few different options. Lucas Van Ness is probably the guy. I mean, if we had to rank him in terms of the player that a lot of Packers fans are probably like really saying, dude has to have a year this year. Has to. He's got to go out there and perform. And perform at a high level. He has to. Lucas Van Ness is probably number one. I would just wager to guess on how many Packers fans have chimed in about him over the entire offseason, training camp, preseason. Like, that is the guy we need to see something from this year. And I get it. I totally get it. And from all accounts in preseason and training camp practices, from reporters who have been there every single day, it sure sounds like Lucas Van Ness is having a fantastic training camp. Great. I mean, we don't want to hear of a guy having a bad training camp, right? But how many times have we also heard of the training camp preseason MVP? That's why I'm a little hesitant to go on Lucas Van. Everything we have heard, everything we have maybe seen, read, it points to like, okay, this guy's going to have a good year. But if I'm gambling and I'm putting my chips in, I don't know if I can do Lucas Van Ness yet. I don't know if I have the gonads to put all my chips in the middle for him entering his third year. Because he is a little bit still more of an unknown. You could say, okay, first year, maybe playing out of position. He was a project. We knew it. Didn't start at Iowa. Kind of like, oh, it's another like Clay Matthews type. Clay Matthews didn't start a lot at USC. And look how he turned out. Well, stand-up linebacker his first year. Then they asked him to put his hand back in the dirt for his second year. So you hear, like, and if you read Rob's piece here, talks a little bit about Lucas Van Ness. And I'll just read this part. The entire defensive line underachieved last season and resulted in a position coach change, entered DeMarcus Covington, the former Patriots assistant who Van Ness said has done wonders for him. Quote, more than anything with our new defensive line coach, DC, I think he's allowed me to just not think. I think that's part of the game where I feel like I'm a pretty aware guy, and I think I take a lot of information in, and I think that hindered me to a point where I'm always trying to think too much or overthink the game, and I think he's allowed me to play free and not do that, and I think that's been good for me. Rob goes on to say, it showed immediately Van Ness has regularly been in the backfield during training camp practices and had a big day in last week's joint practice against the Colts. Okay, great. Again, awesome. Good stuff. I'm excited to hear that. I'm pumped to hear that. But again, if I'm gambling, I don't know if I can put my chips all into that right now. I'm a little bit of a cautious gambler probably in this instance, but I don't know if I can do it yet. I think, maybe of all the guys that we're going to be talking about or kind of thrown out there, maybe he has potentially the highest upside. Maybe the odds are like, okay, you put the chips on for this guy, and this is the guy you're going to cash in the most on. Higher odds, if that makes sense. But I don't know if I can do it yet for him. Everything's great. Everything's sounding good. I'm not quite there yet. Devontae Wyatt is kind of an interesting one here, too, because we've seen flashes of him, right? I mean, we've seen glimpses last year where he might have been the best down lineman, defensive lineman, going after the passer. His issues have kind of been just, can he stay healthy? Can he stay on the field? And this is a big year for him to kind of maybe earn a new contract, but showcase why he's been a first-round pick. It's been, I think for a first-round pick, I think it's fair to say it's been fairly quiet surrounding Devontae Wyatt. But last year we saw some glimpses. We saw potentially what he could do. 14 games last year, ends up with 5 sacks, 2023, 5.5 sacks. Just played 14 games though, and kind of been dealt with I think it was a nagging ankle injury and such. Before that though, 17 games and then 16 games. So Devontae Wyatt, I think, might be the safer bets because he has at least shown some really good flashes. It's just the consistency level. Are you willing to put those chips in and be like, yeah, that's who I'm going to go with? I think he might be the safest one. If we add a Rashawn Gary into this thing here too, I mean, you look at his first year playing as a defensive end, a down lineman in a 4-3. You ask a lot of Packers fans, they're probably a little disappointed in what they saw from Rashawn Gary. And part of it, let's be real too, it's because of the contract he has. It's the size of the contract. You get paid like a top 10 pass rusher. They expect top 10 pass rusher numbers. And if you look at advanced statistics or numbers or analytics and such, okay, pressure rate's up there and such, but does it always lead to sacks? Does it always lead to finishing the play? He does a good job of getting after the quarterback, but does he finish the play? And in 6 years, Rashawn Gary has not had a single season of double-digit sacks. 7.5 last year, 9 the year before. The most he's had in a single season is 9.5 back in 2021. I don't know if I'm going to put all my chips on for Rashawn Gary either. If I had to put my chips on somebody, and I'm kind of going in the middle of the road potentially on this one, where the odds are probably, if we had to put some odds on this thing, probably in the middle where, okay, if Devontae's maybe got the safest odds and maybe Lucas Van Ness has the longest odds, maybe I'm going a little bit of a middle of the road with this one. I think I'm going to go Quay Walker, though. Now, Quay Walker, again, has shown flashes, specifically a couple games last year. He has shown that. He had that stretch of games, was it like San Francisco and Miami, the Thanksgiving stretch, where it's like, okay, we see it now. We get it. And we hear about how great he practices, how great, he is in that behind the scenes. Xavier McKinney is saying he could be the best linebacker in football. I mean, they love him. Teammates, coaches, the organization loves what they have in him. The biggest thing has just been the consistency. The consistency level from him. Can he put it all together? Can year 4 be the year that it just finally comes in? I'm probably putting my chips towards Quay. Because and this is just a gut thing, and it's just kind of a mindset thing. But this is who I feel like if I had to gamble on somebody, like I'm being forced, you have to pick somebody, Dan, that you're willing to say, that you're willing to put some chips out there saying they're going to have that year. That really good year, that breakout year. I'm going to go Quay. Part of it is second year under Jeff Hafley. I'm expecting overall improvement on the defensive front, defensive line. Second year with Edgerrin Cooper. Him affecting plays and being a good player on the field is going to, I think, in turn, help a guy like Quay Walker. I'm willing to put a little bit more on him. Now, I still feel at times he's playing out of position, but I think with base defenses kind of now more of the nickel, where you're taking a linebacker out. In this case, it's going to be Isaiah McDuffie. And you're putting an extra corner on there, and you got Cooper and you got Quay Walker on there. This is the guy I'm going to roll with, where I'm going to put my chips in a little bit more. I thought about Lucas Musgrave and looking at him entering his third year here too. And you look at what he brings to the table and what he potentially could do from the offensive side of things. The thing I question about him maybe isn't necessarily the player itself or himself. It's the opportunities that he might have out there. We know Tucker Kraft is tight end number 1. I mean, I'm expecting we're going to see a lot more 12 personnel. We don't know yet. I think that's the expectation. But we know that they want to feature Tucker Kraft more. You throw in a Jaden Reed, you throw in a Romeo Dobbs, you throw in a Matthew Golden, you throw in a Josh Jacobs. And that's not even everybody. The only thing that hedges me from putting my chips all in on Luke Musgrave is just simply opportunity. How much of an opportunity is he going to get? And for a lot of people who have picked Luke Musgrave, what would be like a fair line for Luke Musgrave, or a fair expectation for Luke Musgrave this year? Is it just 300 receiving yards and a few touchdowns? But he's had a few big impact plays running down the seam? Or is it, hey, no, I'm expecting 700 yards from the guy and 8 touchdowns, being a red zone threat? Like, where's a fair expectation when it comes to Luke Musgrave? Because the thing that worries me just a little bit is he going to get enough opportunity? Again, we all expect that they're going to run more 2 tight end sets. But will they? Do you have confidence that they will? That to me is what's hedging my bet a little bit on that one. Because they still are going to want to give it to Josh Jacobs. They're going to want to, they've constantly said they want to feature Tucker Kraft more. You throw in Jaden Reed, they're probably going to want to really get Matthew Golden going. Romeo Dobbs is in there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I worry a little bit on the opportunities that are going to be available for him. Jordan Morgan, we could throw him in there, and he's a hard one to gauge in terms of chips here, because rookie last year, barely got to see him. And so far, if we just look at preseason numbers and such, he's a little bit easier to kind of assess how he has done in preseason, because he's played a little bit more than a lot of these guys. And you can kind of look at his numbers. Not giving up any pressures. Not having any penalties. His pass blocking grade from Pro Football Focus is elite. But we don't know if he's going to be the starter or not. Are they going to hand him the left tackle starting job? Or is it going to go to Rasheed Walker? And Morgan maybe kicks inside. Or he's the primary backup because he can play multiple spots. We don't, for me in this instance, it's great hearing all this stuff and what we've seen from Jordan Morgan. It's absolutely fantastic what we've seen, but kind of like Luke Musgrave, is he going to get an opportunity? Is he going to be a starter or such? So looking at some of these guys that we have really been, hitting the table, talking about, maybe venting about, or calling out, saying, now is the time. Now is the time. Of all of those guys that you are willing, that you are most comfortable in gambling on, to have that year, to have that really big year or that breakout year, who is it? I guess for me, again, if I'm being forced to do this, like, dude, Dan, you gotta put your chips on one player. We're forcing you to do this, and this is your list of guys. Who are you doing it for? I'm probably going Quay. I'll tell you, like, honestly, I want to pick Van Ness. I really do. I want to pick Lucas Van Ness. Like, that's almost where my heart's at. I want to pick him. I love the stuff that I'm hearing. I love the stuff that I'm seeing and reading. I just can't trust it yet. I can't trust it yet because I haven't seen it in a real game. I haven't seen it in a regular season game. I love what I'm hearing, and I know, gambling and playing a little poker is based off of, taking those risks and projecting a little bit. I can't do it yet with Van Ness. I can't. And I think Wyatt is probably a little bit more of a safer one because, you look at the sack numbers for his position and such, like, okay, last couple of years, decent numbers. It's just, maybe for this year, can he stay healthy and such? We can even, do we even throw in a little Kenny Clark on this just because of the season he had last year? But then we find out, maybe the toe injury was a main concern for that or a main reason for that. I think when it comes to the defensive ends here too, the fact that it was just a couple of years ago, they were drafted, Lucas Van Ness at least was drafted, and to stand up. Sean Gary was drafted a few years ago as a linebacker, as an edge rusher. Can he fully, this year, transition into that 4-3 defensive end? I'm just a little bit more comfortable right now throwing in some chips for Quay. And I want to believe Lucas Musgrave is going to have a ton of opportunities this year. And I want to believe, I really, really, really want to believe we're going to see some 2 tight end sets out there. 12 formations, 1 running back, 2 tight ends. I want to believe that. I want to see it. I just don't know if I can essentially trust LaFleur and Stanovich to employ that on a consistent basis. I mean, that's the expectation or the hope for a lot of Packers fans, is that we're going to see 2 tight ends dominating this year. Maybe a little throwback to those Patriots days where they really featured 2 tight ends with Tom Brady. Just don't know if I don't know if I can trust it. I don't know if I can do that right now.